this tutorial, I will show you 3 common user interface components in App Inventor: buttons, labels, and text boxes. Now, the App Inventor program consists of the designer, which we see here. The designer allows you to design your app's user interface, and the blocks editor here, which will allow you to program your app's behavior. In this tutorial, we will only be working with the designer, which means that when we're finished, we will not yet have a fully functioning app. Now, I've already gone ahead and created a new project. I called it Example App 1. And for this first example app, we're going to recreate the login screen for the popular social media app TikTok. So what we're looking to do is create a screen that looks like this one here. So we're going to start with our designer window. Over on the left-hand side, we see the palette. The palette is where you search for and select the components that you would like to add to your app. So you add them by simply dragging them from this list and dropping them into the viewer. The viewer is going to give you an idea of what your app is going to look like. So anytime you want to include text in the user interface of your app, you can use a label. So we're going to start by adding a label. And then we're going to go over to the right-hand side where it says Properties. We're going to replace the default text for label 1 with Login. We're going to add a second label. We're going to replace the text with email or username. Now we can change other properties of the components as well. So for example, we can make the font bold. I can change the font size of Login so that it's a little bit larger. And if we look here, this screen even has a space between login and email or username. So to do that, I'm going to add a couple of empty labels. So I'm just going to remove the text. Okay, so if we go back to TikTok, we can see underneath email or username, we have 2 boxes. The top box is where the user inputs their email or username, and the bottom box is where the user inputs their password. So on App Inventor, text boxes are a component that allows the user to input information. So we're going to add 2 text boxes. And over here in the properties where it says hint for text box 1, I'm going to write email or username. And hint for text box 2, I'm going to write password. So when your user opens up the app, those hints will appear just as these hints are visible in these text boxes. So for the purposes of this exercise, I'm going to ignore where it says login with phone and forgot password. But there's still one more important component that we need to complete the user interface design, and that is the button. So buttons are an example of a clickable component that will allow the user to perform some type of action in your app. So for example, this first example app, the button will allow the user to submit their email username and password information. So we're going to go ahead and add a button. I'm going to replace the text with login. I'm going to make the font bold, and I'm actually going to change the text color to gray. So there's one more design change that I would like to make, and that is to have the text boxes and the button stretch across the entire screen. So I'm going to change the width to fill parent. And I'm going to do the same for the button. Okay, so now we have successfully recreated the user interface for the TikTok login screen. You may have noticed that there are many different components available for you to use while building your app. We've already gone through buttons, labels, and text boxes, but we're going to add just a couple more components to complete the design of our user interface. So if we take a look back at the login screen for TikTok, you may have noticed that there's a logo at the top of the page. So we're going to add a logo to our user interface. I've gone ahead and downloaded the logo as an image file, which I have saved on the desktop of my computer. So in the designer window, we're going to select the component image from the palette, drag and drop it into the viewer. But now we have to actually upload the image file. So here where it says media, we're going to click upload file, and I'm going to find the file on my computer's desktop. Now under the properties of the image component, right now it says picture none. We're going to click where it says none, and we're going to select the image file that we just uploaded. Okay. So I'm going to change the size of the image file just slightly so that it stretches across the screen. So far, all of the components that we've added have been from the user interface section of our palette. But there's actually a lot more components to choose from. They are divided into different sections based on their functionality. So in a way similar to what we use to add an image, we can also add a video file. So if we click on Media, you'll see Video Player as one of the options. So my challenge for you is to download your favorite school-appropriate TikTok video and add it to the user interface of your app.